you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha Bean, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Orikawa.
Beautiful. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you. As am I. Thanks for having me on. I like the concept of the show. It's pretty cool. You know, connecting, spreading some insight with different creators of different mediums. I think we can all pick up on each other's stuff.
Yeah, I really just enjoyed just like hearing the journey. I feel like, that's what life is about, right? We take bits and pieces of, information or things that we learn from each other, that we can apply to, our lives or just look deeper into our lives and wonder like, learn something about someone. I think it's very fascinating.
Perspective. And I think, definitely, when we use these things on our own art, it's where we're able to express. And so, it's just input and output, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I love the beginning. The beginning kind of for me is like the most interesting thing because I always say that is a part like, or one of the most important things about like who we are, like our little habits, kind of how they kind of follow us or almost chart our trajectory in life, as I always say. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? The little things that you did, your character, just what makes you, and how did you kind of find your way into doing the things that you're doing now?
Okay, yeah. What kind of trouble we got into as little kids? All that kind of
yeah.
It's all definitely part of it. A little bit of the mischievous, nature as kids. You got to get into a little trouble to find your interests, I think. But for me, the origin story, I guess it would start with going to art fairs with my parents. My dad, he was a potter, and my mom's very creative too. And so they kind of had this family business thing going where they would just round up me and my brothers. There's four of us. So we were kind of like the work basically. So we'd pack up the shelving, set up everything for the art fairs. And my older brother, so I'm second, my older brother, he is like a whiz kid on guitar, like prodigy. So he started when he was 2 years old. My parents got a ukulele and added a couple strings on it so he could play guitar because it was regular guitar was too small, or too big for him. So they kind of makeshifted one, and from there he just kind of became really good at it. So at the art fairs he started busking. So he must have been 7 or 8 years old when he started doing this. They'd throw him out there on a chair with his guitar, one of my dad's pots, and people would come by and listen to him play. He played like classical acoustic stuff. Beatles was his thing, so he played all the Beatles songs, and people really liked it. So I remember him playing Stairway to Heaven, just like a standard, like also these teenagers would be coming up to him requesting him to play this song. He's so much younger than him, and they're just blown away, like this kid's playing this note for note. And so seeing that, I kind of was like, oh, I kind of want to do that too. So
I love that.
I eventually followed in his footsteps and busked as well. So I play flute, like I did a lot of Japanese instruments.
Cool.
My grandparents, their generation was the generation that stopped the language. Like they didn't pass the language on. It was war times. I think they just all collectively decided, we got to Americanize, right? Parents didn't speak it, but they always really wanted the culture to survive. All our activities were like judo and taiko. It's like a Japanese drumming. So a lot of performance. when I grew up. And
That's
so it
so
kind of
cool.
naturally led into all the music stuff. So eventually I commandeered all my mom's records, records, all
Beautiful.
the, yeah. So my mom was into a lot of soul music, Motown, that era. So that's kind of all the stuff I'd say I grew up on, and
That's
then started
cool.
DJing and stuff from that.
How does one get into DJing? I feel like DJing, I have a few friends that do it. So I had a friend that was an actor full time, and then all of a sudden, I saw something of his. He's like, I'm a DJ. I'm like, how does one get into that? I just so fascinated.
I think it's very different now than when it used to be. So I think that it's much more of an accessible thing.
Yeah.
It can, I think everybody's really a DJ in some form.
Huh.
So whether it's, you're picking your playlists and everything, or wherever you might kind of have somewhat of the control of what music is played, you're basically DJing. So I think that's like, one of the principles, but like, the roots of it is definitely hip hop. And it
I
was,
actually didn't know that.
yeah, I think
Wow.
it was, well, okay, well, actually that's not so true. Maybe it's more disco. Started with disco, but hip hop kind of took it to its like performance, like art form kind of thing
That's
that
so
it is now, and branched into turntablism from what I understand. And so back when I got into it, it was basically we were seeing these DJs with two record players, and they were scratching, mixing, and who knows what they were doing back then. It was all very mystical to us, right?
yeah.
So one day my brother just said, "Hey, I want to do this," and we saw an ad for Guitar Center. It was selling turntables, and we said, "Hey, we want to buy turntables and do this." And so we went to Guitar Center. The guy there said, "Hey, I know this other guy that's selling some used ones. You should get them from him." And so he's selling this pair. And so we went to this guy, got his used turntables, and it came with a bunch of records too. So his old
Nice.
records, he passed them on and kind of gave us some beginner lessons.
That's cool.
Yeah, basic concepts, the beat matching. So kind of taking two different songs that are different speeds and pitches and just trying to match them up, and then
Oh,
crossing it over and blending them. But all of that stuff has changed so much now,
I
so it's
bet.
very
Because I
yeah.
everyone's so different. Like everyone has such a different I've seen some, I mean, even Idris Ilba, the actor, is
Mhm.
DJing and he's
Yeah.
quite good. I was like, whoa.
Mhm.
And I was wondering how does one get to that level of DJing? Or is it just, I don't know, it's like how does like wrap in my mind of like making a living out of that? Because there's so many DJs. And I
Yeah,
don't think there's
true.
like one formula, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And that's a great example, Idris Elba, because there is a lot of that, I think, that has happened where it's like maybe they're a celebrity of some sort, or in like big in the industry, and are able to just use that to have a following to be a DJ. But he's a little different because I think he also produces too. So he's just
Oh
really
yeah.
like an all-around talent, and
Yeah.
so that's like, he's going to be able to do that and do a different sort of uh medium of art pretty naturally.
That's cool.
But I think there's a lot of different avenues, like you're saying, that it could be different, but there's a lot of politics sometimes. But I
Oh.
think that's with all industries, I'd say.
Wow, I'm
uh,
surprised this politics and DJing. That's a
yeah,
new
oh
one
yeah,
for me too.
yeah, definitely. To get the gig, you got to do like you got to be certain, you got to make certain moves in the scene and
Wow.
know some people. Sometimes that's typically the way I hear it most, like the industry being cracked that way. It's like you got to basically put some time in, rub shoulders with the right people, and do that kind of thing. Probably kind of similar to your industry, your movies, right? Like
That's a wild ride, I tell you. That's an
yeah.
interesting thing. It's like, and it's so funny because when I think about when you say politics, I think about I mean, I've had so many instances, and that can be a whole nother show. But just like long story short, like just I've had those casting couch moments. I've had those scary, scary parts of it too, that you're just like,
Mm.
how do you just like avoid all of that to go over
Yeah,
here and just work, you know? But it's there, you know, it's politics, like you said, it's
totally.
your
Yeah. No,
thing.
you're exactly right. And that's what, like, when you start out, you usually you're more idealistic, right? And you want to make art for art's sake, or you want to just kind of express yourself. And you kind of, it's hard to understand why, like, if there's art being made like that, why can't I do it? And why
Mhm.
can't it be accepted like how this other stuff is accepted, or
Yeah.
more than accepted? How does it blow up? And why can't I do something like that? And then you realize that sometimes there's the behind the scenes aspect of it all. And I think that happens in all different industries.
Yeah.
And I became disenchanted with music at one point when I went to Chicago, and I basically kind of met all my heroes in the DJ scene, and I was
Nice.
picking up the talent at the airports, and I was doing the thing, where I'm networking, and I'm in the scene and all that, and I'm really enjoying it. But then, after a while, it's like maybe it's a little bit of the jadedness or whatever, or just like frustration that where do I fit in here, and how can I do what I want to do within this scene.
Hmm.
So and also it's a party scene too, so it's it gets a little intense.
I
And
bet.
so I had this job where I was living like basically next door to the club that I worked at. And so the
Hmm.
after party was always at my place, me and my roommate, we always it was just crazy times. Um, I actually heard that the uh, apartment that we had, it used to be Eddie Vedder's apartment. He's like
Oh,
this rock star.
really? I've
Yeah.
heard of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was,
It was
maybe it's
Vegas
just a rumor,
24/7,
but
huh? At your house.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like there was footsteps there already. We were just walking in those footsteps. So like it was going to be a party house no matter what.
Right.
That was in its DNA. But so I was living there for a while, and then I basically, I guess you could say I burned out because it was
Mm,
it was just a lot, and I wasn't being productive the way I wanted to be productive. I wasn't making music. And
yeah.
so had to get back to that. So kind of, gradually started working with labels, and then eventually just kind of left completely, worked at restaurants, and I worked at call centers, and I realized, the music industry and probably the movie industry as well, it's got its reputation for having some
Oh,
deviant.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh,
know what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
I
So
do.
it's
I
it's
do.
like I think Hunter S. Thompson said something about, one of his quotes was like about how the music industry is full of these deviants and snakes and miscreants and everything, and there's also a negative side.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
what it's quoted. But I feel like that sometimes, because I can understand that attitude, and you're being a rock star or whatever, you got to be kind of like a
Yeah.
bad and all that. So
Yeah.
it's like that kind of thing, is always going to be there. But when I saw other industries, I realized the same characters, same cast of characters are in every industry, no matter what industry it
Every
is.
industry. It's and isn't it weird though when you think about it? It's like, why can't just we just all get along and just create and work, and there's no, but and again, it is kind of impossible, because it's like this is an industry that is very full of ego. And
Yeah,
I
true.
think that's what it is. Deep down, I think that's probably what it is, and it's never gonna go away, unfortunately. Just learning how to
Yeah,
like figure out how to like create without it affecting your career, or your drive, or your momentum. I mean, I've had some really interesting situations that almost made me like say, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So I totally relate. It's like, you're like, is it worth it? But then, you really love what you do. So it's like you come back to
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. That's where you juggle. It's like, because the general, I think, non-industry like vibe, I guess, would be like, why aren't you doing it because you love to do it, right? Like
Yeah.
you get to do what you love to do, but then at the end of the day, you also have to put food on your table. You also have to, pay your bills and everything. So I think all of us creators at some time are, or a lot of times maybe throughout our career, we're kind of faced with that. And so it's like, I think that's why, I mean, I'm still trying to learn. I'm still studying from other artists and everything, seeing how they do things. But it's like, I think that it seems that they, will fluctuate through things. Like if maybe it is time for just let me do what I want to do, no matter what the response is, and I'm going to do it. And then no matter what what all the comments are going to be, or whatever, all that noise, sometimes we got to just do it just for ourselves.
And you're right. And I love that that you still did it, because your work is amazing. I listened to the one that they sent us here before coming on, and I was like, whoa, it felt really good. It was just really good music. You feel
Hmm.
good, you want to dance, and it takes you out of whatever that is you're dealing with, honestly. So
Yeah,
it takes you in and it puts you in a better mood. So I think that's what we're supposed to do, right, with our art.
I like that. Yes, I think that you were feeling that exactly. Like that's, when I'm kind of in the studio here, the home studio, and toiling away at that stuff, I'm picturing and hoping that when someone hears this, they're just gonna be able to have a good time with it,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
the idea behind the artist moniker Blast Havers. It really just refers to anyone that has fun, and that's kind of what we're going for. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Oh, it was so fun. It was, and honestly, I felt a little, I don't know what what inspired, what inspired the sound, that like the that kind of like the beat. Because I heard some, like, I don't know, I heard like a kind of like, I was like, I'm gonna ask, was he inspired a little bit by, I don't know why I was getting a little bit of Michael Jackson in that. I don't know.
Ah,
There's the old, I can't remember the sound, but it was like, ooh, maybe it was like, can't don't, I don't know. There's like the little
some of
funky
the rhythms,
electronic. Yeah, the
yeah.
rhythm. I was like, well, I wonder what inspired that? Like what to
I
create that?
think I think probably all my work at some point in some way is at least a little bit influenced by Michael Jackson. Because
Oh,
going back to
cool.
the DJ thing, I remember specifically the first record that I ever put on the platter myself, and it was Michael Jackson's Thriller album.
Oh,
And
wow.
because
That's so cool.
yeah, growing up, we watched the videos and the dancing and everything, and that's always the best, And so his music was so popular, and that was the Quincy Jones produced stuff. Recently, R.I.P. But
Yeah,
what
RIP. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, what a like masterpiece, right? I think there's something like that album had 10 number one singles or something crazy like
Wow.
that off of one album. So no filler. There's no filler tracks, they were all like hitters.
Yeah.
So this one day my mom had left the house to go run errands. So we were not supposed to touch the turntable or the records or anything like that, but we got bold, me and my brothers, and I put the record on the table, and then I was like, I've got to, be able to make those scratching sounds like the DJs do, right? The scratching. Now, how do you do that? And so I thought that how you did it was you take the needle and you move it back and forth across the record, which is
Yes.
basically the worst thing. That's like the DJ said, when something happens at a party, it's that,
Yeah, yeah.
like
And
it's
it's
that
like, uh-oh. And the camera
sound.
just pans to you and they're like,
Yeah. It was that sound that I
oh.
made thinking that it was scratching, and I kept doing it until I broke the needle, and then we just got stressed out. We were like, oh no, we got to hide this, we got to put the records back before mom comes back. And yeah, so basically that was my first record I broke the needle on.
I love it. I
Michael
love it.
Jackson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You said Thriller. It's so crazy. Wow. I actually, that music video, I remember the girl and that the movie scene, the movie theater scene. It's crazy. I got to actually work with her, Ola Ray, who plays the
No
girlfriend in
way.
the music video. And I remember talking to her one day about just the music video, when she told me, I said, "What was that feeling like when you got the job? Like you actually, it's like historic, like it's one of those historical like music videos ever of all times." And she's like, yeah, she was talking about how she didn't think she was going to get it, and she got the call that she got to play the girlfriend of Michael Jackson. I was like, that's so crazy, so nuts.
Yeah,
But
that had to
she,
be a cool moment for her,
yeah, right, just like,
Yeah, that's
who
pretty
would have
much
thought?
yeah. And it's a legendary video. She's like immortalized with that, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it's like you could, I said, you could retire and say, hey, I was in a Michael Jackson, I was his
Yep,
girlfriend.
yep.
So
That's one massive receipt right there, of her work. That's an accomplishment. And it was good too. It's like she
it
obviously
was.
was the right person to be in it. So, it was
Yeah.
a big hit. Big
I
hit.
and that did bring me to my question, big hit, and all, and just classics. What do you think music, and nowadays it's just so much music. It's just so much to keep up with it. It's like we're
Mhm.
being saturated with
Oh yeah.
so much music, but there's like the classics, it's like those, like, like Bon Jovi, or like Mariah Carey, like some Whitney Houston songs that were timeless. What do you think
Mhm.
they had that was different, that
Hmm.
opposed to from like other artists?
There's something that they have. I guess it's that, elusive thing that industry people called it, right? They had
Yeah.
it. Like, it's hard to explain, but I think there's a lot of circumstantial stuff too, timing and everything, like what the people were going to want at the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
who was getting behind the promotion of all that stuff, who produced it, like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Like there's so much stuff that has to fall into play, for a hit record. And I think that, one of those things I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's like, I think, I think Rick Rubin said this. He compares making music, as far as, getting a hit and everything like that, to fishing, where it's like you go out there, you don't know if you're going to catch something or not, or if it's going to be a big catch or not. It doesn't always depend on the fish, right? Or the bait maybe that you're using, maybe the weather, or maybe so many different factors that makes it a little bit just almost like gambling.
Yeah, no, you never know. You never know. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's actually, I love Rick Rubin. He's been around for ages. Didn't he like produce he produced was it Magna Carter with Jay-Z? I think I
Oh
remember
really?
seeing
Oh yeah, I
him
don't know,
at
but
like
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
yeah, it's like
I
this
know
guy,
he's
and
a
like
lot
a
of hip
lot
hop.
of artists. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like holy moly.
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't realize. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's one of those things. That's one of those factors that, is maybe not immediately obvious to these hits. But I mean, even him, right? Even
Yeah.
him, if you look at his catalog, they're not like mostly hits. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
hits, but he's got to be like Michael Jordan. How Michael Jordan talks about, how many shots I missed to make all the shots that I made. Like there's some
Right.
crazy number, some crazy stat about that. But it's probably a lot of that with, the musicians like Mariah Carey, for example. You brought up, like, she might have this big hit, or this Christmas hit, or whatever. We all know those hits, but then if you look at her catalog, there's probably like just a lot of music that we haven't heard, and
Right.
who knows how well those songs did.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's when I talk to artists, and I find very interesting, is like, like this song particularly, like the beat, and just how you, the like, I really like how it was so positive. Do you feel like that's what your intentions are when you're making music, is to bring joy? Because like it is a dark world out there. It's a really crazy time that we're living in, as we all feel it.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
is that something that you do intentionally for your music, like particularly this particular song, and just, is that something that you set out to do in all of your art?
Oh, I'd say Not at first. Sometimes,
Hmm.
sometimes I am really feeling that in a dark place. Some of this stuff does come from dark thoughts or whatever, and it like
Hmm.
either it could be anything, frustration or just, because I think making music for me is a big outlet a lot of times. So yeah, I want to be doing stuff with it, but it's also very therapeutic, the process of it. So sometimes I'm processing stuff through my music, but I do eventually always have the goal to make it come around for something positive, like as a finished product. So with this particular group, the Blast Havers, and this song tested on animals, there's definitely some kind of intense or darker tones, I guess you can say, like a little bit of anxiety, I think I was
Hmm.
feeling with the beat. But since I'm slowing the tempo down, I feel like the anxiety feel of it kind of helps make up for that. It's a slower tempo.
Yeah.
So like things like that, I can, the ideas that I have, especially with this one, the main thing is to make people dance. So
Yeah.
I think that's a positive thing. And I think that,
Yeah.
if you forget about everything else, like this maybe goes a little deeper into it, but if that is the only focus and nothing else really mattered, then all this noise doesn't really matter when we're all dancing. And so I think a lot of the stuff I witnessed in Chicago with the clubs there, and
Hmm.
being so deeply rooted in just the club culture,
Yeah.
I think that the dance floor always seemed like a place of freedom and equality, and people like gathering to have a good time, no matter what their social standing is, or what they look like, or preferences of any kind, any all that stuff. It
Right.
kind of goes out the window when you step on the dance floor. So that's why the aim is to make it for the dance floor.
I love that.
Main.
And a lot of people don't dance anymore. And these days they're just like waiting for someone to dance, like one, maybe a few people. But yeah, it's good to dance and move your body. I think, get out of yourself. And I think that's always good. I love asking this question. If you could be managed by, any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Managed by any artist? Oh wow. Well, that would probably be Quincy Jones, to be honest.
Hey, Quincy
Because
Jones.
yeah, I mean, if you look at what he did, and just him as an artist himself, yeah, I would definitely say that's a good wing to be under.
Absolutely, absolutely. He was just one of the greatest for sure. One of the greatest of all times. So
Yeah.
many careers that he's helped, and so many. I mean, I think I saw something with him with Frank Sinatra. I was like, wow, like they did like this whole thing, and I was like, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy nuts.
Yeah, his
Um,
body of work, the body of work of his, and like just the, like how you're saying, the variety. So it's like it even when you're as talented as him, it just surpasses all the genres and all that. It just
yes.
doesn't, none of that even matters anymore. He can do anything.
I love that. I love that. Quick, really fun question. Again, this is my one of my favorite questions, and there's no wrong answer. But the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. If you could choose only one, which one would you choose and why?
Money, power, and respect. Well, if you choose one of the three, does that mean you don't get the other two at all?
I love this question. No, maybe not. It's
Maybe or
just
maybe
a
not.
question.
Okay.
Or which one would you
Because
choose first?
okay. Which would I choose first? Because the reason why I asked that is because the I think that with, and okay, if you have any amount of like whichever one I pick, is it infinite? So
Yes.
okay, cool. So because I think really with those three choices, no matter which one you pick, if you have an infinite supply, then you can get the other two with the one that you have, right? But if I had to pick one first out of the three,
Yeah.
money, power, respect, money, power, respect. I guess it would be respect, because naturally, um, I think that's the cycle of what you have to do to succeed.
Yeah.
So like in our, just the way our society is set up, I guess might be why it's like this. But you basically, if you start from the bottom, you have to earn respect first. Like you're not
Yeah.
going to earn a whole bunch of money right at first. You're not going to get a whole bunch. No one's going to hand you a bunch of, you know. But respect kind of is based on how hard you work and what your principles are and how well you
Yeah.
stick to them when you start, right? And so you
Yeah.
can control that without having money or power, right? And so you still got to get the respect so you can get the money, so you can get the power. So they're all three very important, I feel like. But yeah, I guess if I had to choose one to start with, it would be that. What about you?
Mm. Way to flip it on me. Um, I would say for me, honestly, I'd say money because I really feel like money, well, in this world, it takes money to do anything, to create any type of change or movement or some type of to really move the needle, right? To get things going. Um, I feel like respect is, I feel like and I'm learning too. And there was this amazing guest on I had it on. She said it so well. She was an Olympian figure skater, and she's been around the world and did all these things. And she said, res- you know, people either going to respect you or not. Like you can't really, you don't really know if all you can do is just live your life, and some people will, and some people don't. And she said, and she's okay with that, like not knowing if someone doesn't respect her. I'm like, hey, it's a good point. It's a good point. But I don't know. I don't. I think money is very important. Like it's very
Oh yeah.
expensive to make movies, and to have infinite amount of money to make films, that would be
Yes.
great.
Yes. But wouldn't you, so when you, let's say you had infinite amount of money to make films and you make
Sure.
all the films that you wanted to make, and you are able to put all the money behind the promotion of those and getting those out there,
Yeah.
it's like, why would you do that? Why is that what you would want to do? Isn't there's It's to kind of gain either one or both of the other two, I would think, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think too, I think the thing is too, like, obviously, we were talking about how you want to make a living. And, it's one of the toughest industries to make money out of. But when you can make money, but it's like, um, it's, it's not guaranteed for everybody, obviously, to make millions of
Yeah,
dollars. But
that's true.
I think I've been in rooms where I would pitch to Fox or pitch this and these ideas, and you're like, I just need, believe in me, believe in my project. And they're like, nah, no, okay. So you have to find this money, or you have to put your own money into it. And if you don't have the kind of money, then your films are not going to be on that certain scale, or reach the
Yeah,
audience that you're trying to reach, whether it's a
your vision, it's
documentary.
it's not doing justice to your vision.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
money would help a lot. At least in my, I feel like
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of great people, and everyone's like, I respect your music, your stuff. I'm like, oh, thank you, I appreciate it, but please give it to my film. That'd be great. Go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. It's like, the movie could be better even how you wanted it with more funding. So
Yeah,
that's got to be a big challenge for, because you're a director mostly, right?
yeah.
Actress as well. I think I saw you were in some movies.
I did. I started out doing a lot of modeling, acting, and then from the horror stories that I have, I kind of was like, I don't think I want to do this that much anymore.
Yeah.
Create my own way. So then I went to school for cinematography originally. So but
Oh, cool.
yeah, I wanted to just
So you
get
have
into
the
directing.
technical
And
aspect background for it as well. And then you've also had some time in front of the screen, and now you're kind of like puppet master, right? You're just like basically connecting everything, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Kind
Thank
of cool.
you.
Do they give you a lot of freedoms for that? Like, are you able to make movies that you want to make?
Now, yes. Now I am. Yes. But it is still a fight for sure. It's still a fight.
Hmm.
The industry is very much, it's a lot going on, but
Yeah.
we love what we do. We love what we do.
So
It's one of those
as far
things
as like,
like
yeah,
it's a
I
one
just
day
think
at a
the
time
industry
thing.
it's a lot of work to be done in the industry. There's a lot of things that I think a lot of people don't talk about. And like my experience too, I feel like completely relate to you when it comes to what you saw a lot of things, how things are, like the gimmicks and all the weird things that people have to do, the hoops you got to jump through in order just to get anywhere.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's a fight. And I'm not gonna say, I think too, it's mainly, I'm not saying that it's, yes, we are making progress. Absolutely. I'm part of women's in film organizations. And this is why I'd
Cool.
started the podcast, because, I was like, well, I started just during COVID, and it was to, just another creative outlet and a way to talk to people. What are they doing? How do you guys keep going on? Because this is just like, you can be going like a ladder, and then you get like, there's a wall, like you hit a wall and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, how do I get past this wall or go around it somehow? And so hearing your stories, or any like people's stories of how they kind of conquered their wall to get to the next step, because there's a bunch of obstacles in this journey that I don't think a lot of people are prepared for, or even film school prepares you for. Like when I got and finished in film school, and no one talked about these things, or the dark side of Hollywood, or
Yeah. How to
that.
navigate
Yeah.
all that, those
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah. And how
things.
it is. Yeah. And how it is on your mental health or whatever, it's like no one talks about it. But then when you're like in it, you're like, wait. If I'm dealing with this, then surely someone else is dealing with this as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
I'd
feel like that
say,
should be part of a class, that should be that
yeah.
would be very helpful for, or at least see speakers about it in a classroom environment would have been good. I think that's something that the youth, like we've you've been there too. It's like, you show up with stars in your eyes, and you think it's going to be awesome, and it's just going to be just like the movies that I've seen, and then there could be some sort of shady business going on, to make that happen. And so that's kind of what I've seen everywhere, that everyone just calls it something different in each other industry.
And I'm
But
sorry you had to deal with
yeah.
that.
It's all good. It's kind of an awakening, like growing up kind of thing. If you don't see it, or you choose to ignore it, or you never learn about that, it's just being naive. And so I think yeah, I think both of our industries, they do have that reputation. So, so it's just real world stuff.
Real world stuff. Yeah. And it's so funny. I jokingly, I went to a college, and I was teaching at a college just to students. And I was a part of this. I showed this documentary that I was a part of called Horror Noir, and
I watched it.
history of
That was good.
you. Oh,
Yeah, I
thank
liked it.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was really
And
good.
yeah, and like just like that, and just all these like, just I got to show a part of that, and they were like, "This is so cool. How'd you get it?" And I was like, "Well, honestly, it was just while you're doing your work and while you're pursuing the things you're pursuing, enjoy that process. Someone will see your work somewhere. You'll be surprised too." So I do believe everything is a timing thing as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah, those things have to. uh, There's a quote I heard at one point that I definitely agree with a lot, and it relates to these journeys of our careers and everything. It's that it's basically about luck, and how there's no luck really. It's just when opportunity meets preparation. So when the right opportunity comes for you and you're prepared because of what you've been through before, then you're ready to jump on it and you jump on it. And so I think that when I think back on some of those moments in my career, that I've definitely missed some big opportunities, like looking back on it, and it's like
Yeah.
clearly I wasn't ready or whatever it was, my head was not in the right place at the right time or whatever. But if you keep working then and preparing yourself, the opportunities cycle back.
Yeah.
And I think that that's definitely part of being a creator, being creative. And so that's just one of those reasons why I really like the concept of your show here, where it's like we're kind of checking in from different industries, but it's like the same similar experience, just different medium.
Yeah.
And a lot of the same stuff is across the board. So like you mentioned, like the mental health stuff, that's on this song is definitely a, like not the focus, but it's a focus. It's definitely in there,
Oh,
elements of
good.
it, because like the vocal I wrote to be kind of like I guess like a therapist, right? So some of even the words are just like, how does that make you feel?
Feel.
Yeah, So it's like the kinds of things you would hear if you're laying on the couch, like spilling your brains, and just like a session, but it's also, there's an element of like that anxiety from the beat. It also kind of, and also the animal aspect in there, I think was all kind of what brought this song to life. And the original idea for it being called Tested on Animals, and the vocal stemming off of the original idea was all from, I saw a bag of doggy treats. I was shopping for my dog, right? And saw this bag of doggy treats, and it had the standard stamp on it from whatever organization, and says, this product is not tested on animals.
Uh-huh.
And I could just tell that it was like they weren't thinking about it, and they just put it on the dog treats because they thought they were supposed to, but they're dog treats. They should be tested on
Right.
animals, right? so
Exactly.
yeah. And so these kind of things, like that's like kind of the ironies or the paradoxes, I guess, in everyday life, are things that kind of get my creative juices going.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah. And I think, I know we're supposed to talk about that song for this release, but my next song that I'm going to release in January, I think you would
Woohoo.
really like it and connect with it. It's called Content Schmontent. And
Mm.
we're content creators, right? And so
Right.
that one, like kind of how we were talking about, some of this stuff might start out kind of dark. I was feeling frustrated in how, like, us musicians and other content creators as well, like we feel like we're supposed to take our creativity and chuck it into the meat grinder and just churn out this content. And so the original, the chorus is, primitive is our present when our
Mm.
future becomes our past. Content is our monument, but how long will it last? And
Mm.
I first wrote that, it was like going over and over in my head, and I was just like getting angry and frustrated, like, this is like this, having this musical landscape right now, and how everyone's just so hungry for content is just ridiculous, and it's creating less creative products and blah blah blah. And so I'm going down this train of thought. But then when I think about it more, it's like, you know what? We're lucky that people have these insatiable appetites for content, right? Because if they didn't,
Yes.
then what would we do?
Right.
So it's like another one of those paradoxes. So like when I sat down to write the verses, I finally was like out of that more negative space, and I kind of wanted to just make it fun. So it's a little bit more like a story.
Yeah.
And the vocal, I delivered it kind of like almost like that song Monster Mash. Do you remember that song?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Classic, right? Yeah, it was a
Wow.
graveyard smash, right? But
That's a good
so
one.
big influence on the vocal delivery with that one. And then the storyline it's kind of reminds me of like a cross between like Fresh Prince and like Slick
Yeah.
Rick, the storyteller, the
Yeah.
great storyteller. So it's kind of more on that, but it's over like these house beats. So
Love that.
hoping it's a little something different, but I think you'd like
I
that because
love it.
it's about content, you know.
I'm all for that. And I love that like you're experimenting like house beat. Oh my God, I love that. Like, what we were talking about earlier about just how that's what it is. It's like you can take you can cross-pollinate, different
Mhm.
genres and different things and like make something so beautiful and you're like, whoa, I never thought that would actually work like a classical music and hip hop or
Yeah,
something, and you're just like it's like, whoa,
yeah,
this is really cool. So it's because it's music, because it's you're taking the listeners on a journey, like whatever that journey is that you want them to be on.
oh yeah,
It's
totally.
kind
And
of
that's what,
cool.
that's why I look a lot at movies for inspiration, because they are the most like that. I mean, other than maybe books, right? But you gotta devote a lot of time to a book. It's too much commitment, right? But like if you want to get enveloped into a story and have that movie basically take you to somewhere where you're not at the moment, that's
Yeah.
what I love about movies. And so usually when I'm making music, I have some scene going on in my head. It
Oh,
might not
that's
be like a
cool.
real actual movie, but like for this one, Tested on Animals, for example, I've got like a mad scientist doing experiments on people at like a loony bin kind of scene, and so like all the sounds of that, kind of go into it. And the technical part of movies too that I like to dissect are like the pacing and like the sequencing, right? Because that has to do a lot with music.
Yeah.
And so there's some movies that I definitely, they have, we talk about drops in music, right? And where there's like a build up and then there's a drop. Well, if you watch movies, like there's all kinds of those, and
Especially in those what's that guy's name? The guy that did Inceptions, the director.
oh
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that guy, there's always drops in every scene.
yep,
It's like, oh my goodness, this guy is, but he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
yeah. Nolan, is it? I think, is it
Nolan, Christopher
Christopher
Nolan.
Nolan?
That's
Yeah, he
it.
did one of the
That's
Batmans. Yeah, yeah. That's a perfect example. Those are. It's like
it.
you're like thinking you think you're following the storyline and everything, and you are, and then all of a sudden, boom! It's like it smacks you in the face, like what, like, whoa! It's like a little mind, twist and everything. So, yeah, I kind of like, that's how I describe this music. It's tech house with a twist. It's
Nice.
slowed down a little bit, but yeah, I always want to have some kind of twist in there, like M. Night Shyamalan or something.
Oh yeah, M
Some kind
Night.
of something in there that you maybe weren't really expecting, but it works. That kind of
That's cool.
industry stuff, and so
Do you feel like it's not diverse enough yet?
I feel like it is not, but it's getting better. So it's hard to complain. I find myself hard to complain, but like just little things like, I mean, this isn't something that really, really bugs me that bad or anything, but um I grew my hair out, right? So if
Yeah.
my hair is down, like it's an instant, like people say, "Oh, you look like Steve Aoki," and so
Oh, the
I'm like, okay,
comparisons.
that's
Yeah.
kind of funny, but then why is
Ah,
there only one, Asian guy in electronic music that
right.
that we all look alike or something? So it's
Right.
like, so I mean, it's
Yes.
definitely, it's not something I'm offended by or anything, but it's just one of those things that like, well,
Yes.
why can't there be two or more people in this industry, in this genre or whatever, that just because there's not enough of them, that two of them have beards and long hair or something,
Yeah,
that they
that's what
just
you
look alike.
automatically.
Yeah, yeah, it's like there should be more of us
Yeah.
Asians with long hair and beards in this so, it's
Absolutely.
kind of one of those things. But yeah, I do think it's getting better. I think that the playing field is somewhat, at least kind of evening out a little bit.
That's good.
um yeah, yeah, but there's always, I think it also depends on where you go to.
Yeah.
So when I went to Chicago, for example, I mean, it's just, there's such an influence and such like a history of, because that's where house music started. So all the roots are there, and like all the early, artists, all Black American, and even techno branching off to Detroit,
Mm.
same thing, So all of this roots is Black music, and so when you go and you see it and you live in it, it doesn't seem like diversity is that much of an issue,
Mm.
maybe almost the other way. You're like, we're everyone, all of the artists are, are all Black American. And so it's based on quality. So like
Mm.
around the world, right? So like these DJs that were there, a lot of the big DJs that I definitely like had a big influence on the music I do now. Green Velvet,
Mm.
Mark Farina, DJ Heather, DJ Sneak, they were in this like graduating class in Chicago, and they're just like, if you go to their shows, it's like all kinds of people. It's not all Black or all white or all Asian
Yeah.
like that. It's like
Yeah.
everybody. So
Love
when
that.
you kind of see that, those color lines just kind of, you know, as far as like, opportunities in the industry and everything like that, it doesn't seem like, the world's against you.
Mm.
So seeing what they do and what they've done and still are doing, it's very, very encouraging. And I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, in this industry, Chicago definitely like paved the way. New York a little bit too, but definitely more so with house music, I'd say Chicago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But all in all, I'd say if you look at the whole of music, I think the diversity is not as much a problem now because of the opportunity we have from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you if you work at it long enough, I'm confident that, you know, as a musician, you eventually find your audience or your audience finds you. And it
Yes.
may be overseas, it may be, another continent, whatever it is. But if you keep doing it and you keep your quality, as high as possible, and you keep expressing your style and you have your spin on stuff, then,
Yeah.
I think that crowd will find you. There's going to be a group of people somewhere that you're basically hitting exactly the right note for them.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, that's so true. And I love that perspective because I completely agree, like 100%. What advice would you give to someone that wants to get into this crazy industry that we're in?
Let's see. The music industry, I would say the my best advice would be to pick the avenue like that you want to, to be in that industry, because, maybe it might not be to be in a band or to be on stage even, but most people start out like wanting to be on stage or being the focus, being the so whatever that avenue is that you choose, just always be a student of that craft. So some things are going to knock you slightly off course or seem like they're knocking you slightly off course. And sometimes you might have to wear a lot of different hats to kind of stay afloat in the industry. Like maybe you're starting off, you don't have that respect or that power or that money, right? So what do you have? All you have is effort and time. And so if you apply those resources to get those three resources that we want, the way to do it is to work hard and just do everything you can. So when you start out, that might be promoting for
Mhm.
someone, or anything, band, venue. I was handing out flyers, in the early days. And when your course seems to go that route, you still got to study your craft, be studying that craft the whole time, and you'll find your time to strike, when you've honed your skills. But if once you forget about that craft, then you're probably not going to go back to that road. So yeah, I guess that would be my advice to any new people trying to get in the music industry.
I love it. I love it. That's beautiful. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything you have coming up and what's going on?
The current artist Blast Havers is simply just blasthavers.com. So that's BLASTHAVERS.com. So having a blast. And then all the links are right So Instagram, like YouTube, and it's a little new. So if you jump on now, you're one of our early followers. So we just launched this artistic brand, and so there's much more stuff to come. We're taking December's generally a bad month to release music, so I'm probably just gonna kick out a couple of bootlegs. Yeah, holidays and everything, you know, all the holiday music, and so it's typically not a great release month. So I'm gonna just have some bootlegs to kind of throw out there. And then January, we're gonna do that content Schmontent song.
Yeah.
And then February, we've got a third one. Already, these are all ready to go in the clip. So yeah. And the artwork's done, everything's done, ready to go. And then I'm working on the next ones. And so it's all, if you like tech house and you like EDM and you like, you know, a twist in your music, you like it to take you somewhere, that's definitely you know, our cup of tea as well. So anyone out there, if you like that stuff, check us out, please.
Absolutely. Do you have any shows any upcoming shows that you're gonna be performing at anywhere?
Shows? No, not yet. So that I'm kind of you know how actually this kind of touches on some of the strategy we were talking about before and how you know so it's kind of like one of those things that is another paradox where, you know, you to get the shows, the good ones at least, you got to have a following. Well, how can you have a following if you're not doing shows that are the good shows to get the following, right? Gotcha. So that's why right now I'm focusing mainly just on the music as our product.
Gotcha.
And then we're gonna kind of see what their response is on that, and then we're gonna do shows.
All right.
So yes, absolutely the plan. So yeah, we're going to be, you know, looking into what interest there is for this, because it's a little different. It's kind of slower paced than normal tech house, but our whole idea is to, like, even though it's slower pace, we still want them to be face melting banger tracks with drops and, you know, like twists and turns, just like life. And so we feel like, you know, why should the fast music get to have all the fun? You know, we're going to have some music and it'll still be like high energy.
I love it. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. And it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you. Pleasure was mine. Really. I really appreciate you, you know, having me on this show and everything. And it's going to be a great resource for anyone that wants to kind of get perspective on creativeness. And so I'll be checking out more of the episodes as well, and definitely watching for that movie.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.